Welcome back to Access Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough and review of One Piece, episode 570. Now, if you remember from last episode, Jinbei does not join the Straw Hat crew. Decken and Horty, as well as Horty's officers, are imprisoned, and there's a huge party on Fisherman Island for the Straw Hat crew. Now, if you remember correctly, Robin is talking to King Neptune about Joy Boy, as well as Sarah Hoshi being Poseidon, which is one of the three weapons that were named after a god. But that was last episode, and this is a new episode. So let's dive right in. And again, I'll keep my comment and my rating at the end of this clip, so stay tuned. But let's dive right in. We open up this episode with, again, King Poseidon talking to Robin about the three ancient weapons which were named after gods, which are Poseidon, Uranus, and Pluton, if I'm correct. I wanted to say Pluto, but it's in the subs, it's pronounced Pluton. And it's even spelled P-L-U-T-O-N, Pluton. I was hoping it was going to be called Pluto, but Pluton, it's different. Now again, we're talking about Sarah Hoshi becoming Poseidon, or is Poseidon, which is one of the three ancient weapons named after a god. So, while they're talking about Sarah Hoshi, guess who's listening in the background? Caribou. I hope I pronounced his name right. C-A-R-I-B-O-U. He was that rookie pirate that was actually being held captive on the Straw Hat Pirates' actual ship in that barrel, the little container. I forgot about him, but he's in this episode. Kind of ironic. And guess what? He was the one responsible for looting the palace. Yeah. And again, for those of you that forget who Caribou was, he's the guy with the Numa no Mai fruit, so he's a devil fruit user, and he has that power with mud control. Just for like an FYI, in case you forgot. I know I forgot. Now we're taken to a different scene after we see Caribou. Again, Caribou just literally went off because he wants to either capture Shirahoshi or sell her off, one of the two, since he knows this huge secret now. But I digress. The next scene we see Jinbei trying to talk to Luffy about what he's missed since he was training all those years. And he tries to pull Luffy off, but then we see Sanji, Zoro, Chopper, Usopp, and Nami. Nami's she's trying to sober up, Zoro's plastered, Sanji's got that whole mermaid fascination thing going on there. I thought it was funny. And again, Usopp and Chopper, looks like they're done eating finally. But I digress. Jinbei again is trying to talk to Luffy about what's been going on, and we find out this is probably the biggest thing in the episode that I found to be most important, so you better listen up. This was pretty big. Ready? You ready? Okay. You sure you're ready? Okay, I'll say it. Akano and Okiji have a big fight, and I wish we could have seen this fight instead of just seeing these small little pictures of their powers colliding. Again, two admirals fighting. Now we don't know why they were fighting. Jinbei goes on to later describe that 2 years ago the fleet admiral Sengoku resigned. And Sengoku resigned, we don't know for what reasons, but I guess he finally had enough, so he threw in the towel. Now, he recommended Okiji to become the next fleet admiral, only because he was popular among his own men. But at the same time, other higher up officials, they favored Okano, only because he became, well, I really don't know the real reason. I guess he was just that popular. But now he's become a huge contender, and you can't have two admirals fighting for a fleet the fleet admiral's position. So they decided to duke it out on an island, and it took 10 days. I was like, wow, 10 days to battle it out, and it was so evenly matched. But apparently Okano won on the 10th day, and he became fleet admiral. Now, the interesting thing about this battle is, even if you win or lose, you're still part of the Navy. They're not going to kick you out. But whoever lost had to drop out of the race to become fleet admiral. Now Okiji, he refused to work for, he just refused to even be part of the Navy after he lost, because he said he didn't want to really work underneath Okano, so he quit. I believe he quit. We don't know if he retired or quit in general, but from what I take, he quit. So he's now out of the Navy. And that was a huge loss for the Navy, because they not only lost their fleet admiral, but they lost another admiral in general. So they're not going to sit there and take this. So what the government does, they gave the Navy unexpected powers just because they lost these two strong men. And this gets interesting. This is a two-part two parts here. The first part was they gave the Navy HQ led by Sakazuki. Now I obviously pronounced that name wrong. It's Sakuzi, Sakazuki, Sakuzi. More powerful force of justice. So the HQ now has more powerful force of justice, which we don't know what that means. And the second part is Blackbeard has now advanced more. Like the Blackbeard pirates have advanced. And by advanced, I mean now Blackbeard is one of the 4 emperors now, taking Whitebeard's spot. So he's taken over all of Whitebeard's territory and he's become an emperor. Now they are also going after devil fruit eaters, people that are devil fruit users, and obstructing their power, taking their power away from them, literally killing them probably. And I guess Blackbeard implants these powers into his own crew members or takes them for himself. But either way, they're probably going to be after Luffy soon. Now we see in the next scene, Cammy, she's walking in, well I should say, she's swimming in to find Luffy because she wants to know where he's at to join the party. And Luffy asks, well, where's Sarahoshi? It's interesting that he actually asked that because he still does not pronounce her name right. It's Sarahoshi. And, well, Cammy says she went back to rest in her room. So Sarahoshi's no longer part of the party. Now, out of nowhere, Luffy gets this weird vibe. He detects a wild animal. So does Sanji, so does Zoro. And it's weird, just those 3 pick up a weird vibe. And Luffy jumps on the assumption, well, not an assumption, but, it is a wild animal. Let's go get it. And so they break from talking to Jinbei, and they're trying to find this wild animal. Now we're taken to the Hardshell Tower, and we see Sarahoshi. And it's kind of interesting. We see Caribou. He's approaching, but from the ceiling. So I was like, look up, Sarahoshi, look up. And he's just dripping down on her, and then he falls on her and takes her hostage. Ends up taking her from her room, and he's saying all these random things he's saying, and we pick up that Caribou's brother and crew will be arriving in a port soon. Obviously for the gold he took from the Fisherman Island, or should I say stole, but now for Sarahoshi as well. But I'm pretty sure they may or may not know what she's capable of. I think it's only Caribou that actually knows. And he's all psyched, and out of nowhere, Luffy shows up with Sanji and Zoro. And it's weird, he's right behind Caribou the whole time. He's like, hey. Hey? He said hey twice, and Caribou didn't know. And then he finally picks up, crap, Luffy's behind me. And then he turns around, and Luffy just punches him, clear across, the island. And then, Sarahoshi saying thank you again. It's everyone's thanking him. It's you saved Sarahoshi again. That was the end of that little scene. I was hoping for a bigger battle scene though, so that was kind of a little irritating to see. In the following scene, we see Nami talking to the Minister of the Right, and apparently what we find out is all this treasure that was missing and whatnot, King Neptune doesn't care. He's as far as I'm concerned, you guys can have it. So now Nami's got the little dollar signs, she's after this treasure now. She's so psyched. This is the second time Nami's got lucky with this kind of treasure. Skypea was one, this is the second one. I just love how they're being handed this treasure. Because, King Neptune doesn't want any part of it. He's like, you know what? You guys can have it. Because, we're just recovering, we don't need it. So now Nami's chewing out Luffy for hitting Caribou, because Caribou's the only one that knows where the treasure is. So now it looks like they're getting ready to go hunt for Caribou now, for the treasure. Now, while all this is happening, we start to hear bad news about the prison tower, about Horty. Apparently Horty and his officers they're no longer in handcuffs. So this is kind of alarming. So everyone's now taken to the prison tower. And we're looking at all these people that are in the cell, and everyone's old men. They're all decrepit, old, and this is just how did this happen? And we find out that it's because of the energy steroid pills they took. Apparently that was the after effect. And I'm well, sucks to be you guys. Now King Neptune, obviously he does not fear these guys anymore, and he's willing to forgive them to an extent. And one of these princes of the royal family approaches them, and he's looking at them, and he's he doesn't even, he forgives them for killing his mom, and That was kind of interesting. And then he later says, but shut up, because the people outside, the kids, we don't want the kids to hear you. Now, just before, the prince says that, we also find out, apparently, the steroid pills, these energy steroid pills they're taking, are considered the legendary pills, which were kept in the Tamate box. Remember what I told you a few episodes ago? That Tamate box, which was the national treasure? Well, those were the pills that were inside of them. And apparently, 10 years ago, they went missing. Just around the time Horty dropped out of the royal family's army. Interesting. Now we know who the thief was. It was Horty. But again, we end this little scene with the prince telling Horty and his crew to shut up. And I love that part. But again, we're taken to a different scene, and that scene was nice, by the way, but we're taken to a different scene, and we see the Minister of the Left. He's informing everyone that Mr. Pecan and Baron T, I can't pronounce these pirate names, so bear with me. We have these two pirates that have appeared on the island, and they're arriving at the candy factory. They were sent by Big Ma'am. And if you don't know who Big Ma'am is, one of the 4 emperors. And that's where the episode ends. So, final thoughts. Final thoughts? Big Ma'am versus Luffy. That's right, one of the 4 emperors versus Luffy. I can't wait to see this. So, that's one of the big things I can't wait to see. Second of all, one of my other final thoughts. Come on, Caribou, where did you hide the treasure, and where the heck are you? Get your scrawny butt back here. We want to see it. We want to see your butt being kicked, plain and simple. I don't care if it's Zoro, I don't care if it's Sanji, I don't care if it's Chopper, or Usopp, or Nami. One of them has to kick this guy's butt. That's all I can say. Now, I am kind of interested to know these other 2 ancient weapons. Well, 2 of the 3 ancient weapons that are named after gods, Pluton and Uranus. We don't know a lot about them, and although Poseidon's one of the 3 weapons, I don't really see it as a strong weapon in general, I'm wondering what Pluton and Uranus looks like and what are they capable of doing. But that's where I'm at with my final thoughts. Now, rating-wise, I wasn't feeling this episode even with the information we know now, because I felt ripped. We didn't get to see the Admirals fight. We didn't get to see a battle with Luffy and Caribou, so what is this telling you? I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Maybe next episode when we get to see more fighting, I'll give it a better rating, but right now, I'm feeling a 3.5. 3.5 out of 5 is my final rating, so that's where I'm at there. Now, I've definitely got 2 or 3 more walkthroughs and reviews to do, so definitely stay tuned. But that ends it for my walkthrough and review of One Piece episode 570. So, without further ado, guys, I gotta say it. Can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.